what's good, y'all? It's Stinger. Sorry about that. Today I will be showing each and every one of you how to make an ethereal plug melody. And when I say ethereal plug, I don't mean I'm creating a new subgenre. We already have enough plug subgenres as is. It's just an adjective to describe the melody. But with that being said, this is what the melody sounds like. Alright, so the first part of the melody that I've laid down is using the Tine electric piano one from Purity. When it comes to making plug melodies involving electric pianos, this is my go-to. It just sounds super smooth and clean. So with that being said, I'll just play the melody real quick and then I'll break it down piece by piece. Alright, so as always, the first thing I started off with in this melody is the bass line. And this bass line is going from the 6 to the 5 to the 1 to the 7. If you've seen any of my previous plug tutorials on my other channel, you know that this is my go-to chord progression when it comes to plug melodies. The resolve within this chord progression is very jazz-like because of how close together the notes are, so using it for Pluggnb is just a given. Alright, after I had that bass line laid out, I threw down some chords. Everything about these chords is pretty standard and basic. I'm just using 9th, 7th, and octave chords to make the melody a little bit more intriguing. So this is what the chord progression sounds like. Next thing I did with this chord progression is I offset the 5th of every single chord a bit, and then I also added in some transition notes in between. Sometimes Pluggnb melodies can seem a little bit scary to go into because of how complicated they often are, but if you go step by step like how I'm breaking it down from the bass line to the chorus to transition notes and then on out, it's a whole lot easier to put those melodies together. And when it comes to transition notes, there's really no rhyme or reason, you kind of just gotta go with what sounds good. So this is what the chord progression sounds like now. And now for the final rendition of the melody, I added in these top line notes just to make the melody a little bit more complex. When throwing down these top line melodies, I heavily suggest using some kind of strum notes. Doing this will make your melodies sound more human and it'll give them a little bit more flair. With these top line melodies, similar to the transition notes, you kind of just gotta go with what sounds good. It can be pretty difficult, especially if you're trying to go for something as complex as this, but as long as you don't overdo it, you should be good. So with that being said, this is what the melody sounds like. Next thing I threw down was the In Memoriam bell from Omnisphere, just playing a nice little counter melody. For this, I just kind of played some notes in my MIDI keyboard until I found something that sounded good, and then I threw some transition notes in between. After that, I threw down this pad from Omnisphere, being the Agape Warmth pad. And I have this just playing a different rendition of the first chord progression. And now that we're done with that, we can get into the fun part, these vocals that really seal the deal on the melody. I'm using the Distant Voices patch from Arcade and using the Chronicle preset. If you're going for something kind of ethereal like this, instead of using that Arcade patch with the ear on it, I forget what it's called, but people use it a bunch for vocal chops, I recommend using the Distant Voices patch. So with that being said, this is what the vocals sound like. As you can tell, the vocal cut off really abruptly at the end, so I opened up a second instance of Arcade and cut it to start when the last one ended. That way there's a little bit of resolution within the vocals. So now this is what that last section of the vocals sound like. And now I didn't want the vocals to be the only lead aspect of the melody, so I cut them out and threw on this Sine Lead. And this is the melody that it's playing. What I recommend doing for melodies like these is to find a motif that sounds good and repeat it but make some changes. Doing this just provides a little bit of consistency within the melody. And the final aspect of the melody is the E bass 6 from Purity, and this is the pattern that it's playing. And I just have this playing the bass line, but with a few more notes to make it a little bit more complex and seem like an actual bass line. So with that being said, this is what the entire melody sounds like all together. So that is going to pretty much cover how to make an ethereal plug melody. Hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial and learned something new. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. Also, feel free to subscribe as I post 4 tutorials every single week, 2 long ones and 2 short ones. Other than that, that's going to be it. Peace.